end. So, just understand this, right? There's been over 300 guys that I've worked with on this, okay? This isn't like an untested or unproven system. This is a 3-year optimized process where busy, career professional men, right? Guys with businesses have been installing this system, and they've been meeting and dating extremely attractive women through this. So, quick question for you guys in the chat. I just want to kind of get a feel for the vibe in here. What do you guys think? So true or false, right? Being popular is going to make dating easier. What do you guys think? I mean, do you think that's true or do you think that's false? Put it in the chat. I'll wait for a couple of you guys to drop your opinion in the comments here. But you tell me, I mean, does being popular make, doing business easier? Does being popular make dating easier? Yes or no? Just put it in the chat. Let me see a couple of responses here. Fabio, what's going on, man? Zach, what's going on? Misael, okay, Misael says true. Colin says definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to deny it, right? Like if you're super popular, that's only going to help you with dating. Like being popular doesn't make dating harder. So as long as we can all agree upon that, then, this is going to be what this is about basically, because it's not about fixing anything, okay? I'm not going to teach you guys games, stuff to say today, right? This isn't going to be about telling you guys you need to get in really good shape. It's not going to be about like getting jacked or looks maxing. This is actually going to be about installing a strategic system that just allows you to get chosen, right? It puts you in the position of being the man in demand, right? And it erases your need, kind of like my client Prin here. It erases your need to be like a, Chad or to be super tall, right? This is all about social positioning and leverage. So, it kind of reminds me of this client that I had in Scottsdale, Arizona, which, by the way, anybody in here ever been to Scottsdale, Arizona? Has anybody ever, seen the women that walk around in that city? Yeah, it's insane. So I had a client, when he first came to me, he said, Brian, I just moved to the city and all I do is I sit around in my house, right? All I ever do is just kind of lounge around. I work from home and I need to get out there. I just don't know where to start. What do I do? And I asked him, I was like, well, what's your hobby? Right? Like, what's your favorite interest? And he said, pickleball. So I said, okay, great, right? Let's just like run with that. So if you guys look at this screenshot here, I used a very, very simple prompt in ChatGPT to create this picture. And it says pickleball circle private event Scottsdale. And we ran this as an ad through his Instagram account. Okay. And if you guys see the other screenshot here on this side, what you'll notice is that we got dozens and dozens and dozens of messages from guys that are on boats, from women that are in dresses. Some of them are, super hot, and, some of them are kind of decent. But the point is, we set this up and he changed absolutely nothing about his life. And he got an insane result within a matter of a few hours. So that's what's possible with this system here. So now imagine, right? Like imagine having an amazing social circle. Imagine being able to flip on a switch, you guys, and imagine being able to just have women messaging you, guys messaging you, like people just reaching out to you, wondering like, what is going on? Okay. Anybody think that might be a good idea, right? Like, is that, hopefully that's what you guys came here for, because like, if you're not excited about that, I don't know what would make you excited, because this is how you get a better dating life. And this is how you get a better social circle. Okay, the key is inbound systems. It's marketing systems, right? And so here's what you don't need to do anymore. And let me know if this sounds familiar. So no more sliding up on her stories constantly, just talking to yourself in her DMs. I know some of you guys are doing that. You got to stop. No more, drinking tequila for liquid courage, going out to the bars, hoping to get lucky. No more memorizing lines that became popularized from some guy in a big fuzzy hat back in 2001. You don't need to download dating apps and swipe a bunch of profiles hoping to get a match, blending in with thousands of profiles. You don't need to go get an expensive photo shoot and hang out with Michael Sartain in Las Vegas and, spend time around a bunch of washed up strippers and ex-OnlyFans girls, okay? Unless that's what you want to do. I don't judge, be my guest. But those are things that you do not need to do, right? And I just want to make sure that you guys understand that the only reason I know this stuff is before discovering the system, I struggled myself, right? I was that guy. I would go out to the bars 3, sometimes even 4 nights per week. And I was partying more than I was like building anything for years in my 20s. I was that guy that thought that creative text messages were going to be what would be able to help me find my wife one day. If I could just only be more witty, right? Now, I was also that guy that thought that keeping a close circle was, what you were supposed to do, right? But in reality, the truth was I didn't know how to connect with the right type of people, right? The truth was I didn't know how to become friends with the people that I actually admired, right? So, throughout my journey and my process, I actually realized these old ways that, people are looking to solve these problems actually keep you stuck because, think about it. Have any of you guys ever thought about the fact that cold approaching, as as an idea, right? It kind of makes you start to think that game is a normal thing. You start to think that being, a red pill guy is like what everybody else is doing. But in reality, dudes that are successful with women and that have a bunch of girls, like they don't learn any of this stuff at all, ever, right? And so let's talk about dating apps for a second. Well, they might end up actually hurting you more than they do good. Why? Because if you don't get any matches, like, dude, is there anybody in this room that is not getting the results that they're looking for on a dating app? All that's doing to your mind is making you feel like you're less desirable in the marketplace than you actually are, right? And so anybody in here ever attended like a networking event? Maybe you've seen the ads online for like Time Left or Open Table, whatever that different stuff is, right? You attend those things, you'll notice that there's no cool people at those events. There's no hot girls. It's like, where's all the millionaires at? You might start to think that none of them are in your city, but they are. And so that's the thing, is like your lack of strategy, right? Like not understanding this system is causing you to think that becoming friends with millionaires, hosting yacht parties, dating 8s and 9s is way harder than it actually is, because it's actually not. There's a new way to do it, right? And that's what we're going to talk about today. It's the social funnel method. So there's 4 steps to this process, right? It's AI generated Instagram ads. And I'm going to repeat that. It's AI generated, right? Simple AI generated Instagram ads that target local people, dozens and dozens and dozens of inbound messages, right? Inbound leads. Does anybody in this room think that like it might be nice to have some like inbound leads once in a while and get women sliding into your DMs? Okay, so we're going to flip the script. And then think about exclusive parties and events and creating social circles, having friend groups, getting a like-minded collective of people that are on the same page as you so that you don't have to feel lonely. Okay, and then the 4th step is converting your social circles, right? Converting your circles into romance, converting it into friendships, converting it into business and even money, right? You can make money from this system. So let's get into this stuff here. Why does this work? Well, let me explain it to you. This is a picture of my client, Zach, right here. He's in a small town. So the reason that this works is because we're not leading with our money. We're not leading with our looks. We're not leading with our opening line. We're not leading with our age. We're leading with access. Okay, so we're leading with value. That's the difference here. So leading with access and value, right, is what puts you in a position of power. Okay, puts you in a position of status. It gives you situational control. Back to that question that I asked earlier, it puts you in the position of being a guy that's actually admired and popular. So this is built for men that appreciate systems and leverage, right? This is for guys that appreciate being strategic over being charismatic. Okay, this is for guys that understand that what one man can do, another man can repeat. And so therefore there has to be repeatable done for you steps that somebody else can teach and that somebody else can learn. And your guys, you're going to see that there is a way for you to get a self-sustaining social circle that allows you to have women, friends, and invites that come to you on autopilot. So what if you're a Christian guy? It kind of reminds me of, this is my client, Jeff, here. So he's in Nashville, Tennessee. By the way, anybody been to Nashville? It's got like, some of the hottest women that I've ever seen. But he hit me up and he was like, hey man, I don't really want to go out to the country bars. I don't want to go shake my ass on, what is it, like Broadway Boulevard or whatever it is. So I was like, well, like, why not, man? That sounds kind of fun to me. That's what I like to do. He's like, well, man, I'm Christian. He's like, I'm a man of God. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. And I was like, okay, well, let's go with that then, right? So what we did is we created a Christian social circle for him. So we created these Christian ads. And if you guys look at these pictures here, before you know it, just in a matter of weeks, he had a massive social circle filled with Christian women, guys that, valued and cherished God the same way he did. And you can see here that this result was created in a matter of a couple of weeks, right? So if you think it's going to take a long time, it's not. If you think that this is something that takes a lot of effort, it absolutely doesn't. So let's continue here because, I also have a few guys on this call. I'm sure there's one or two of you that think that you've probably been convinced you need to have a perfect Instagram profile, right? You probably think that you need to come across as like super high value. You probably think that you need to come across as, high status and have access to all of these, exclusive environments like Lambos and mansions and, all of that different stuff. And it's not true. And I have proof, right? The proof is that, first of all, I could just fix up your Instagram profile super easily and make it look fine. But the reality is that we run this system on Instagram pages that we start from scratch sometimes that don't even have the guys that I work with appear on the profiles personally, right? We can start an events page. We can start a social club page. We can start a hobby page that doesn't even include your face. And we can run these ads and we can put you at the center of a brand new social circle. So you don't even have to have a good Instagram account, right? And that's why this transformation can be anybody. And if you don't think it can, then I'm going to show you that it's proof. And the only thing that would get in between you and making it happen is yourself. Like, it's just pure laziness if you don't use this system. Like, if you guys learn this system today, you do not implement it. You're the only person to blame for not having a ton of women and a ton of friends because it's available to anybody. You could host a yacht party just like we did right here. Anybody else in this room want to be on a boat with 20 women? Maybe just like a couple of guy friends. I know I do, but if you guys don't want to, that's cool. You don't have to do that. You can do whatever you want. The point that I'm making is that you could be hosting and attending exclusive parties and events full of like-minded people, whatever it is that you want to do, right? You can build a network that opens up doors for you professionally. Anybody want to have friends that actually uplift them and help them get to, new levels financially? So, this is available for anybody that actually has a desire, right? And I imagine that if you're on this call, you're not going to waste this hour sitting here listening to me for no reason. You probably want to change where you stand in your city, right? You probably want to increase and improve your social positioning. So that's what we're going to do. No more flying solo, right? If you're a guy that's been, feeling kind of bored or alone, no more cold DMs, no more reaching out to people hoping that they reply to you, right? No more swiping marathons, looking to perfect your Instagram profile and, paying the next guru for the next photo shoot. Okay, no more doing research on YouTube, trying to figure out how do I approach girls at the park or at the mall? We've got a proven done for you system and it's right here. I'm going to teach it to you guys. And it's for entrepreneurs, right? But if you don't own a business, that's okay. This is also for career professionals. This is for dudes that, actually have some level of success in their life, right? So if you're a guy that's just you're check to check, you're struggling financially, you don't have the ability to rub two little nickels together, then I'm sorry. This call probably isn't for you, right? You have to have had some level of success in your life, at least in your job, in order for this to work. If you're just, total deadbeat, if you don't have any money, then, I'm sorry, but you probably got a bigger problem, right? This is for guys that are single, 30 to 55, that want real abundant dating lives and real friendships and are ready to take the success that they've already built and go to a new height and truly level up. All right. So this is for dudes that are ready to draw that line in the sand and stop accepting less when it comes to their social network, their social access, and their social positioning with the women that they can date. Okay. Because, think about it, man. Why is this important? Why does any of this matter besides the obvious, right? Well, I'll tell you why. Because you probably want to have a wife someday, right? You probably want to have kids someday, unless you're a dude that just never wants to pass on his genetics or genes, whatever. But if you want to have a kid someday, don't you have to find the right woman? And is dating apps really going to get you there? Based off of the success you've had, are you truly ever going to find that girl that you're really looking for at the pace that you've been going, swiping on dating apps? Probably not. Okay. And the other thing that you need to really consider is, you probably don't have an elite crew of super dope guy friends, right? And that's not going to get easier over time, right? Anybody else in this room notice how it only gets more difficult to make friends as you get older, right? As you get into your 40s or your, 50s even. Is it getting easier to make guy friends? It's not, right? So that's a problem that you got to solve right away. And what if you never get invited to anything, right? Like, what if all you do is sit at home by yourself? What if you were to do nothing? Ask yourself right now, who is going to reach out to you this weekend, right? What are you going to get invited to? If the answer is nothing, then as a man, that is a problem. Why? Because you're becoming invisible, right? You are being undersold, right? The problem is that you're never going to realize the full potential that lives within inside of you. So if you're feeling that boredom, if you're feeling that loneliness, if you're feeling that dissatisfaction with your dating life, then we're going to change that. And that's what this is about. And I understand how you feel, because I've been there myself, man. Most people don't know this about me, but I grew up in Fort Collins, Colorado. It's kind of like just a college town, Colorado State University. And yeah, I grew up playing soccer and stuff like that, which was cool. I had some friends and we would travel around, and I had a pretty good childhood and stuff. Things really changed for me once I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, though. And that's where I live right now. So when I moved out here, I kind of took a pretty big leap for a new job. And when I got here, I was really excited at first. You know what I mean? I thought I was going to make a bunch of friends and date a bunch of hotter girls because I was moving to a city. I thought I was going to, level up my career and everything was going to be great. But the reality is that if any of you guys in this room have ever moved to a new spot, you understand that it's actually like way, way, way harder than you think it is. Like you don't know where all the best places are. You don't know where to go. You don't know how to create a tribe. You're starting from scratch. And it's almost kind of like the women they look right past you, right? And it's just like automatic. It's like you're completely invisible. And, the guys that you want to be friends with, the dudes that are already established and are already cool, they don't care about you, right? Like they're not looking for you. They're not thinking to themselves, oh, I bet there's a lonely guy that just moved to the city and probably needs a cool group of friends. Like nobody's going to come to save you, right? And I experienced that myself. And so I went through all the courses, man. I went through all the books. I went through all the classes. I hired all the coaches because I was making some decent money at the time, thankfully. And, I basically just consumed every mentor I could get my hands on. And throughout that process, I discovered the power of a social circle, right? Throughout my journey, there was an aha moment. It's when I realized that, what if instead of approaching people as a stranger, what if I could create an ecosystem that was a self-sustaining flywheel that allowed me to get fresh new introductions around the clock on autopilot and just get through that filter so that women would take me seriously, and just get through that filter so that, successful and ambitious guys would actually look me in the eye and take me seriously. That's what I discovered a social circle does. And so when I discovered this, I actually thought back to when I was younger. Because when I was in my 20s living in Colorado, I was in digital marketing. And so what that means is that I was the marketing director for fitness studios, and I would run these Instagram ads for these gyms. And all I was doing is just getting people to come in and sign up for gym memberships. So I applied what I knew from launching Instagram ads to what I had discovered in creating social circles. So I took the concepts that I learned as a marketing director and applied it to dating. And that's where I came up with this game-changing discovery, right? And that's what we're here to talk about, is this groundbreaking discovery that I made years ago when I saw that the same marketing strategies that businesses use to get clients, you can use to build a social circle, right? The same Instagram funnels that are used to get you on this webinar, right? Like right now, are the same exact systems that you can use to find your wife, right? And so that's what makes this so unique. I'm the only guy that's actually even doing this. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but unfortunately, nobody else is talking about Instagram ads for dating. Why? It's because this system is completely proprietary. Like, we had to optimize this thing for the last 3 years, and that's what makes it one of its kind. And so there's nothing else out there like it. And that's why I made it my life's work. You see the sign, okay? I didn't just wake up one day and just think that I was going to throw this whole thing together. Now, this has been years in the making, and I'm proof, right? Like, I am proof that a random guy can move to a new city and he can get a super hot girlfriend like the one that I have now. I'm proof that you can be a dude starting from complete zero and actually reach all of your goals plus way, way, way more, right? And I'm also proof that you can be a dude that has no idea, right, like what the next step might be, and you can actually create a social circle and even a business that fuels your life forward, okay? It gives you real growth. And that's how I intend to make this class, for maybe all the classes you've ever watched, this will be the best one you've ever seen. I promise, right? Because I'm going to show you why being strategic beats dating apps, okay? I'm going to show you why being methodical is better than cold approach. I'm going to show you my 4-step process. I'm going to give you proof. I'm going to show you real ads. I'm going to show you real examples. And I'm going to give you the exact systems that we use. And if you want, at the very end, I'm going to show you how you can work with me directly, where I just go ahead and do it all for you. Now, I'm personally responsible for over 500 parties and events that have been hosted all over the world. Okay, I have successfully helped dozens of guys enter into exclusive relationships with this system, including myself. And I've also generated hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars for clients that run businesses using these networking strategies. So if you run a business, you're going to want to pay attention. You're going to realize, right, like I said before, the same marketing systems that got you right here, right now on this webinar are the same powerful mechanisms that can change your life forever with your circle in your city. Okay, these are all the exact strategies and systems that you can use to improve your dating life. So before we dive in, there's 3 things that you need to understand, right? The first thing that you need to understand is that you've got to flip the script, okay? You've got to get through the filter. The second thing is you need to understand how to make it into a system. And the third thing is understanding optimizing this for conversion. So what do I mean, right? Well, the first thing that you got to do is flip the script, right? The problem that you probably face is that you're chasing people, right? You're approaching people, you're DMing people, you're messaging women on dating apps, and it's you going to them. But what you've got to do is figure out a way to flip it so that these people come to you, and then you have all the options, right? That's something that needs to transform. And then the second thing is you need to transform your systems. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're guessing on every message you're sending, right? If every message that you're texting a girl is manual, if every attempt to talk to somebody is you trying to come up with the right things to do and say, you've got to replace that with structure, right? You've got to replace it with a system. You've got to be able to implement automations. You've got to be able to implement templates, right? You've got to influence, people using frameworks that are proven with scripts and with systems that are already pre-built, the same way that a business would do the same thing, right? And that's what I mean by optimizing for conversion, is you need to have an ultimate strategy, right? So what I mean is that the direction that you need to take this is to begin to build something that compounds, right? You need to be able to start understanding things in terms of flywheels, right? Instead of just starting from zero every time you go out to the bars, you need to understand that there's like a roadmap, right? There is a blueprint, and there's a way for you to play this game like chess. This way you're not going to leave, friendships and dating up to fate or up to luck, because that's never going to serve you, because that's the reality for most guys. Anybody in this room ever felt like maybe at one point in their life they were invisible to the people that they truly wanted to be seen by, right? I call this the invisible man trap. And it looks just like this, right? You don't have any social success. You don't have the women or the friends that you want. So what do? You try cold approaches. Okay. What happens from there? Well, you get a pretty low ROI, right? That's the truth. And then what happens? Then you get pretty frustrated because you're like, that's not working. And then what happens? You make less progress. And then what happens? You give up on the process. And then you just repeat this cycle. And that's what keeps men stuck, right? That's why men feel like victims. That's why they start getting fat and overweight and out of shape. That's why they're sitting by themselves, jerking off 24/7, right? That's why bad things are happening in the world, right? Men become victims. They become, red pilled, and then they start blaming society and blaming women. And then all these, terrible things happen. We have to put an end to that process. Now, the good news is that there is a way out of it, right? It's the social funnel method, and it's going to be the system that gives you a predictable path forward while maintaining your pride and your authenticity. So let's get into the steps here. So the social funnel method, like I said, local IG ads, inbound messages, creating social circles, and then converting your circles into business and into romance. Let's dive into each step. So how many of you guys in this room know that you can actually turn your Instagram into a business account for free, totally for free? You can just pull up your Instagram right now, flip it to a business account. Half of you guys in this room might even already have that turned on, right? It doesn't take any work for you at all to go into the back end of your account and start to create audiences, right? And if you guys don't understand what that is, it means that you can drop a pin on your city, right? Some guy said he was in Philly. Another guy said that he was in like Boca Raton or whatever it is. You can drop a pin in a 5-mile radius to where you live, and you can set this audience to have parameters, right? Ages, maybe 21 to 27 if you're going for girls. Ages maybe 30 to 50 if you're trying to network with guys. The point is, you can create these audiences, and you can even use interests like maybe business, or maybe some of you guys want to meet a woman that's interested in, let's just say, video games, right? You can actually create audiences on Instagram and begin to target these people with ads. And so that's the first step, is we target the exact people that you're looking for in your city. So the beauty of this, right? The beauty of that is that all we have to do is run ads to these people, and we never even need to leave our house, right? We don't have to go out and meet anybody. We don't have to do anything other than put this content directly in front of them, because what happens is it starts generating inbound messages. So these are DM campaigns. And what I mean by that is when people on Instagram see your ad, they send your Instagram account messages. So what that really ultimately means is that you don't have to match with anybody anymore, right? You don't have to go out and try to meet people at the bar anymore. You can set this up, and then people in your city just start messaging you. Like you're just directly in conversations in the DMs, and it's them coming to you, right? So now you are the one that actually gets to be the selector. The interest is now inbound. This completely flips the dynamic, not to mention the fact that look at this screenshot. 15 hours ago, 16 hours ago, 17 hours ago. What if you could get 20, 30, 40 responses within a matter of a few hours, right? How could that change your life? Think about it. If you're just like sitting there right now and you had 40 women in your city message you on Instagram right now, don't you think that that could actually do something different for your dating life? Wouldn't that be a new result that you've never created before? Let's keep going with this. We create all kinds of ads, right? And the best part about these ads is that they're easy to make. Why? Anybody in here heard of ChatGPT? Does anybody know what Google Gemini Nano Banana is? Anybody ever use that to create pictures? Okay, you can create these ads for free. All you got to do is pull up ChatGPT, and if you don't know what ChatGPT is, then you're way far behind. But we create these ads in a matter of seconds, right? How about one for snowboarders? How about one for people that like boating? How about one for entrepreneurs? How about one for models? How about one for young professionals? How about something even just generic? Like how about one just for people in your city? You can do singles, whatever you want, right? But it doesn't even take time to create these ads. So if you're starting to see what's happening here, right, is we're using free tools to create the ads, and we're using free Instagram accounts to create these ads. And we're getting results within a matter of hours, and it's extremely cost effective. For example, look at this. 40 cents per message, 125 conversations, 125 inbound messages for the price of $49. That's like the same cost as a Hinge premium membership. Okay, what you can do with the 125 people is not just set up, 10 or 15 dates, you guys. You could actually create an entirely new social circle with just that $50 ad spend budget. And you can see that these ads, they run for like 2 days, and that's all you need, right? So how does that go? Let's just do a quick recap. Okay, so create an audience on Instagram. And by the way, anybody in this group, does anybody have like a specific, let's do an example. So somebody in the chat here, go ahead and put in the chat, what's your favorite hobby? Or you know what, maybe what's your industry? Let's try that one. Benji, Joe, Max. Anybody want to put like a specific, I don't know, hobby or like an interest, something that you like to do? What's some, give me something that you enjoy, something that excites you, or something that you would want to do with other people, right? Somebody give me an example here. Oliver, Ryan, Zach, one of you guys put something in the chat because I'm going to show you guys something. When you set up these ads and you start to get these messages, here's the result, right? This is exactly what you can expect to see. It's messages that come in back to back to back, right? So Bible study, right? All you'd have to do is create an ad that says Bible study inner circle, right? And just target people in a geographic radius that are interested in religion. If you target a bunch of religious people in your city and you were to create an ad that said Bible study inner circle, you're going to get dozens and dozens and dozens of messages. And look at these messages, you guys. The women that reply to these are way hotter than what's on dating apps, right? The women that reply to this aren't even on dating apps. They don't even go out to the bars, especially if you're going to do Bible study, right? Like those girls aren't going to be, you're not going to approach them in a nightclub, but they will respond to your Bible study ad on Instagram. Okay, so what do you do next? That's the question. So let's get into that. If you guys can see my screen here, I'm pulling up an example of creating the circle. So once you get all those responses, right, all you got to do at that point, really straightforward, really simple. You just outreach every single one of them and you just get them together for a fun experience where you're the man in demand, right? You're the most valuable guy in the room. And I can show you guys how you can set up events at venues, at hotels. You can do it at, bars. You could do it at, restaurants. It doesn't really matter. The reason being is these people are wanting to get together because of a shared interest, right? A shared commonality. So that's what's been missing, right? Is you're trying to attract people with the wrong bait, right? When you get new bait, you start to catch new fish. And we can repeat this process again and again and again. And you can even just run ads without even setting up events too. We've got guys that are running ads, dating ads without any events, right? You can just get a bunch of inbound messages from women, right? You can just copy paste all the scripts that we use to set up a bunch of dates. You can just get in front of hundreds and hundreds of people overnight, right? Like if you just want to get more women, turn on an ad and you can just like wake up in the morning to dozens and dozens of targeted leads, right? So why does this work? Well, think about it, man. It's actually pretty simple. You don't have to chase anybody. You're just casting a net. You're basically just casting a line and looking for who bites. They're coming to you. It's a simple and subtle difference, right? So you're not being judged off of your opening message, right? The dynamic flips when they come to you first, okay? They're not going to be grading you off of like, oh, this guy messaged me. Let me check out his profile. No, they're seeing the value that we're presenting to them up front, right? So they're coming to us. The instant result that you get from these ads is going to be unlike anything you've ever experienced in your life. Like I said, think about it. What if you woke up tomorrow morning, you had 50 guys and 50 girls that messaged your account? What could you do with that? Right? Well, I'll show you what you can do with that. You could host an event where you make thousands of dollars, first of all. So anybody in here want to make money, right? Does anybody want to get paid to date women? Well, that's exactly what Bruce did. So this is my client, Bruce, right here. And actually, when he came to me, he's like, man, I already throw parties. Like, I already do events. So like, what can you do for me? I said, well, how much money do you make? Like, how much are you getting paid to host these events? And he's like, well, zero. I said, well, there's your problem right there. So all we had to do is install a couple of different systems and mechanisms, and he got paid $2,000 to meet a whole bunch of new women, make a whole bunch of friends, and he was already respected. Why? He didn't have to approach anybody. People showed up to his event, and they had already put money in his pocket, and it's all just by running the system here. So I think you guys are starting to understand, right? Like when we get into securing free venues, getting free photographers, we know how to get free DJs. We know how to make money from throwing these parties and events. Guys, like you will never swipe on a dating app ever again. Because think about it, that shit's for fucking losers, man. Like going out and cold approaching at the park, going and approaching strangers at the mall, that is like, I can't even think of a more like low level behavior, right? As a man, the only thing worse than sitting at home by yourself 24/7 and just getting fat and out of shape is going to be desperately swiping to meet women on dating apps. Like, come on, what the fuck are we doing here? So this is what clients tell me after a month, right? Is they tell me that they get invited to more and more exclusive parties and events because of their valuable friendships. You know, within a month, I've got clients that tell me that they're dating women that are way higher quality than what they were accustomed to before. And then also within that first 30 days, guys tell me that they get business opportunities. You know, people approaching them to network, and do business. They totally uninstall dating apps, right? They stop wasting their time doing bar approaches. And for the first time, they actually feel like the center of their scene, right? They feel confident. They feel in demand because they've actually become the social leader. And so, like I said, man, this could be anybody. You might think if you have a thick accent, or maybe because you're short, all you got to do is just mass market, right? If you just run Instagram ads, volume beats everything, right? Like you can just win based off of sheer systems. Okay, you can actually be awkward. You can actually be weird. You could be a totally different ethnicity, and true digital marketing systems will trump all of that, right? Like we've got guys that are just like in random cities in Texas that are just flipping on ads, meeting women, dating one or two women at a time. Why? Because like they respect him, right? And when a man is respected by women, they start to break all their rules. Anybody in this room like want to be non-monogamous, right? Like that's how you do it. You want to date multiple women at the same time, you got to get off your ass, right? Like there's no world in which two women want to fuck the same guy at the same time and he never does anything with his life, right? Like you've got to take action. And so that's what is required here, right? Like I said, this isn't just like some magic trick. We've got guys that are in small little beach towns, right? Thinking that this isn't going to work for them. We turn on an ad and then I get feedback all the time like, oh, Brian, less than 12 hours after launching this ad in a small beach town, it's just like hot women back to back to back to back to back. And this could be your profile, right? So the results are real. 90% of the time when we launch these ads, it works on the first try. No extra testing. Why? Nobody else is doing this. Nobody else has thought of this, right? Like we are early movers. Okay, we have the first movers advantage. That's why at this point, even though I've worked with 300 guys on this process, we've barely even begun to scratch the surface. And I've seen it again and again. Dozens of guys have entered into exclusive relationships just by running these Instagram ads, right? And it goes far beyond just dating, right? This isn't about just meeting women, right? It's not even about just making friends. Like you can actually use this system to blow your lifestyle up all the way completely. Like you can use this system to actually create a lifestyle that you feel truly proud of, right? It can take you from wherever you're at right now. And this Instagram ad system can change your life within a matter of 30 days. And that's the point that I want to make here, man, is this isn't about just running ads, right? This isn't about just like throwing parties. This is about finding the things in life that give you the biggest return on your investment and allow you to become the man quickly, right? Like while you can, while you still have your chance, while you're still at the right age, while you still have the opportunity to do so before it passes, right? And so that's what guys think, man. They're like, oh, I got to learn a bunch of game. I gotta practice my social skills. And it's not true. The thing is like what we're doing here, the value is already there. It does all the talking for us. Why? Nobody's ever been served this kind of ad, right? Plenty of guys that have run the system are quiet, shy, introverted. They create amazing social lives because they built something. Think about Elon Musk. Does anybody in this room think Elon Musk is like attractive? Okay. Anybody in this room think that, Elon Musk is like, has amazing game? No, he doesn't. But what has he actually done? He's created an amazing, empire, right? Like he built something. Okay, so that's all you've got to do to be attractive is you just have to be a man of ambition. That's it. And it just has to be visible. It has to be on display. And I got guys too that they're like, oh, if I don't have a place to host a party at, I don't want to have people over at my house. And it's like, dude, that's not what we do, right? That's actually backwards. What we do first is we just run the ad and just get dozens of people messaging us, right? Then when we have this big list of leads, we then take that big list of leads, we show it to this popular venue over here. This popular venue gives us free space in exchange for the people who spend money, and then we just host parties for free. Like I can show you guys how to do this without even investing any of your money into hosting these parties and events. You can get red carpets, you can get backdrops, you can get photography. Like I'm telling you guys, you can use this system to become actually famous in your city. And so what if guys are like, telling me, oh, this sounds like a lot of work and, I don't have the energy for this. First of all, that's bullshit. Okay. Because the reality is that you already spend time on dating apps and going out to the fucking bars. Okay. Like, you already spend time by yourself at your house. You're spending time on this call with me right now. Clearly you have the time, right? So it's not about like putting more on your plate. It's about taking the time that you already spend and optimizing it for something that can change your life. So you don't need to, like have a open calendar to do this. Most of the guys that I work with are extremely busy, but what if you don't like parties, right? What if you travel a lot? What if you don't even, what if you already go to events? How about that? Well, for guys that don't like to party, I say good. Why? And it's because there's plenty of people in your city that don't like to party either, right? That's true. But ironically, those same people would love to meet each other. Isn't that interesting? So what does that tell you? Well, it tells you that this isn't about becoming a party boy. It's a lot more strategic than that. Okay, this is about creating a community of like-minded people, right? This is about becoming the connector. Okay, we've had guys create church groups and book clubs, and somebody in the chat said, what was it, Bible study? Like, you can do that, man. You don't have to like the party. This is about becoming the connector. And if actually you go out of town and you travel a lot, that's actually a good thing because here's how we use the system for that. So you're going to go out of town, you pre-launch ads in the city that you're going to be in. Simple, right? You're going to be in California next week. Just launch an Instagram ad in California, get a bunch of DMs, and have a bunch of women ready to meet up with you and set up dates by the time you're flying into town, right? So we launch these ads remotely. I could launch my ad in your city, and I could just get all of your women right now. But, I won't do that because I'm a nice guy. So, and guys are like the ones that want to throw these parties and host these events. So like, well, I don't know what to do at the party. What do I do at the party? And the reality is you don't have to do anything, right? When you host an event, you literally just let people walk up to you, right? You get some introductions. People are coming up to you. You're pretty busy. And the magic is in the follow-up, right? Like after your event, you just message all the hottest women and say, hey, thanks for coming. Hope you had a good time. And then you're just in a conversation with them on text and you can just print dates, right? So that's what makes the dating part easy. And the thing is like, there's one commonality, right? All my best clients, the ones that have gotten the hottest girls, okay, the ones that have made the most money from the system, there's one thing that they all have in common, right? And it's that they've also been successful in a different area of their life. So that kind of brings me back to the point that I made before. It's like, look, if you think that you're a loser, if you see yourself as a loser, if you don't believe that you can actually level up and you don't think you can win, then just log off the call, right? Because nobody's going to change your mind. I'm not going to sit here and try to change your mind, okay? The one thing that all my best clients have in common is that they've been successful in a different area of their life. And the reason that's important is because they know what it took to be successful in the first place, right? They understand that it's possible for them. And so they know what it means to take action. Okay, they know what they need to do in order to replicate that kind of success. Because there's two types of men in life, right? And which one are you? I mean, you answer it for yourself, but there's two types of men. There's confident men, and then there's not so confident men, right? Confident men, they make decisions quickly. They act fast. They don't waste time. They value speed. They have a vision that's clear. Confident men have a fire that burns. Right? Unconfident men, think about it. They just second guess all day long. They hesitate, they delay. They don't have a vision. Their vision is blurry. They don't have that fire. They just sit around and mope and just blame the world, right? So if you've made it this far, right, in the webinar, whether you want to believe it or not, it actually says something important, right? It says that, you are actually thinking about doing this. You do care. To some degree, if you've made it this far in the class, you do have that fire that